Okay. So this culture of giving is what we would really like to institutionalize. And apart from financial support, Nikhil, if you remember when you were visiting Pune, we spoke about uh, having the alumni chairs, like 20 bright faculty members from outside who come and teach 20 courses at COEP every year, supported by COEP faculty and funded by the alumni. That's our next big project, which we believe will ignite the minds of these COEP students. So some of the best faculties around the world who are expert in certain areas. So the currently the faculty members have shortlisted the topics that they want external faculty to come and teach. And for that, we are looking at some of the best faculty around the country, if we can, or around the world as well, who will come and spend those 6 to 9 weeks at on the COEP campus and teach that full course as part of, and will be part of the curriculum as well. So that's one thing for which we will soon start a fundraising effort. And so ideally, we would like 20 alumni to sponsor 20 chairs. And we're just working out the mechanics of it. And next month is when we will kickstart that fundraising project. So I will skip some of these. So Akshay, we are sorted, right? Yeah, I can see people now.
Yes, Mohit, it's done.
Yeah. So the way so far we have worked on is we've invited applications. We invite applications from students. There is a team of alumni who screens these applications. We speak to their parents, classmates to just ensure that these are really deserving kids. And then the fees are transferred directly to their to the college account. We do not hand over fees to the students directly. These are handed over directly to the college. This is the team of people who over the last couple of years, led by Professor Agashe, has been doing the interviews and helping us screen. So it's a nice alumni effort, alumni committee that filters along with the college faculty members. So nice collaboration between both. And then we shortlist these students for. So we continue to raise money. We have a major donor, and we continue to. Our goal is not to just have few large donors. Our goal is to have individuals, more number of individuals who will go and contribute towards it, so that we continue to build the culture of giving. So no contribution is small. There is a link that Akshay will post here. You can either scan this or you can pay at the Milap site as well, where the crowdfunding site that we use. And you could contribute in your own way. You can fund one student across 4 years. You can donate a small amount. No amount for us is a small amount. So feel free to, and this only goes to deserving students. This club is directly managed by the Alumni Association, and it operates with highest level of transparency. And as you know, Suruchi likes to keep talking about that, but nobody has ever become poor by giving. So please be generous. This is a cause that you should certainly consider as you consider giving back. So on that note, I mean, these are all the scan codes, same thing. This is the fundraiser that we spoke of. So Akshay, if you can put a link on the chat here, that will help people who want to donate today if they want to. So, you know, I've done this 6 times before, the COEP CXO club chat. Today is little different for both Suruchi and me, because the alum that we are interviewing today is somebody we interviewed in 2004 as well. Is someone we know quite well. The first 6 were, of course, you know, we got to know them over time, but you know, I just wrote on LinkedIn yesterday. In 2004, we were sitting at the alumni office near the main building. You know, in our COEP uniforms, white shirts, tie, we are sitting to wait for some star alumnus who was going to visit. We all were sitting, chit-chatting as students. Somebody walked in, spoke there, "Arey Mandke sir kuta hai?" Something like that. That gentleman asked and then went back. And we still kept chit-chatting. We didn't know, we were still waiting for that star persona to appear there. And little later, we realized that that unassuming, humble person who just walked by was no other than the legendary Nickhil Jakatdar, the Nickhil Jakatdar that we were waiting to interview. 2004 was that. 2023, we just met him a month ago. One thing that hasn't changed, while somebody said Nickhil looks young, he used to look younger then. While his hair has grayed little bit, or almost grayed it all, but that unassuming persona is still what it was almost 20 years ago. This man went from College of Engineering, Pune, pursued his PhD at UC Berkeley. From semiconductors to mobile video to healthcare and diagnostics, he has built companies across sectors that perhaps are nowhere related to the electrical engineering that he pursued at College of Engineering, Pune. He has 60 patents on one side, and he competes at World Poker Series as well on other side. Apart from building companies, he's been asked this many times. There are many entrepreneurs who succeed one time, maybe two times. There are very few you will find who succeed 4 or 5 times. So we often tease him that he has this Midas touch, and he touches the company and that turns gold. Of course, not as not as easy as it sounds, but I have personally, over the period of last 10-15 years, had the privilege of being mentored by him, like many other entrepreneurs that he mentors. And Suruchi and I had the privilege of having him on our board as the founding board member at Bombay. So it's our privilege to introduce and welcome Nickhil Jakatdar for today's 7th COEP CXO Club chat. Suruchi, anything you want to add before we get Nickhil started? Oh, you'll have to. Yeah.
Yeah, now I can. No, this is actually, this is Nickhil, very, very strange to have this video conference with you, because we always end up catching up almost every quarter whenever you visit Pune. One thing I would like to add to such an unbelievable profile that he has is the bond that he creates with people. I remember many, many years back visiting his house in Los Altos and then getting him on the board of Bombay. To today, he will always find time to meet us, to people he connects with. So that is one thing I would really like to highlight. Such a successful man, but he will always make time for others. So thank you, Nickhil, and I think that's frankly the highlight of your profile, because there are so many great achievers, but there are very few people who are able to connect. And we always know that, you're like a phone call away. We've always called. I have called him for some really stupid things and cried on the phone, and he's always been so patient. One personal thing I want to say was, Nickhil, if you remember 11 years back when I lost my mother. So I lost my mother, and the next evening, India time, Nickhil called. And I don't think I have told you this, Nickhil, but that was the first time I really broke down and cried. I grieved for my mother. So I don't know what it is, but there's a connect. So thank you for all that you've done for us. And I'm looking forward to this fireside chat, which will look slightly different than what typically we end up having at Anna Idli. So thank you.
Thank you, Suruchi, and thank you, Mohit, for this lovely introduction. I feel this should go on my LinkedIn profile.
Few years ago, this went on Economic Times when Nickhil had this one-page cover, and some of his mentees were interviewed. So there's some bond the perhaps of the past life that we get this privilege to interview or speak about you all the time, Nikhil. So on that note, Nikhil, let's get into your story. Enough of our anecdotes. Let our other alum friends who are on the call today, around 180 of those, uh, let them know about a couple of game-changing milestones in your journey, Nikhil, from COEP to becoming a serial entrepreneur. A serial entrepreneur, for people who perhaps may not be aware with this term, is somebody who keeps building companies one after another. There are many entrepreneurs in the world, but there are very few serial entrepreneurs. So, Nikhil, tell us about some milestones.
Right. So, of course, COP was to me one of the most amazing journeys. And I think two of my three milestones that I would highlight actually happened before or during COP. The first one was, I got into my graduate school program while I was in my final year of COP. And I think that was an important milestone for me because when I went to grad school, for the first time, I found myself surrounded by students who were way smarter than me, who were way more driven than me, and just being around that type of positive energy, that type of drive, that type of belief, I think lifts your level. You have no choice. You have to lift your level, because if you don't, you get left behind.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the one important milestone. The other important milestone for me was before COEP. I actually met my future wife before that, and she also, by the way, is a COEPian from ENTC, my batch. But I also learned the value of having such a supportive partner, because my wife has been super supportive, not just in my personal life, but also in the professional side. Almost every company I started, I had her be my, the person who did all the work that I didn't want to do. And having someone like that who can take care of stuff that is important, but that might not be something I wanted to do, took a lot of the stress away from me and allowed me to focus on what I needed to focus on. So to me, meeting my partner, my life partner, early in life was a pretty important milestone. And you know the feeling, Mohit. So
Yeah.
so
I
you
know,
guys
I know
both that.
you're collecting some brownie points. By the way, do we have Sudhya on the call? If she is, we would love to spotlight her and get her to say a hello as well, in case Sudhya is on the call. She
I
must
believe
be
she is.
on
I
the
believe she is.
she must be. I know her movie just got released and she is on a tour. So we will get Sudhya involved at some point if she's there. But
Yeah.
Nikhil, I think you did a fascinating job of collecting some brownie points today. So, Nikhil, having worked in various domains, right? I mean, you probably started with semiconductors, then mobile video, now healthcare diagnostics, and all of which had nothing to do with your electrical engineering degree. What do you believe are the important skill sets that transfer across domains?
Yeah, I think there are a few that I've found have helped in hindsight. I didn't know this at that point in time, but as I traversed through these journeys and I look back, uh, I think apart from my first company, which was based on my PhD thesis, in all the other companies after that, I was never the domain expert. I was the one who was brought in. Either I founded the company based on an idea, or I joined a company and ran that company. And in all those companies, I joined them because I truly enjoyed spending time with the founders.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a very critical piece. Is you have to love who you work with, because you're going to spend so many hours with them. That that bond needs to be really strong. You have to be able to stand each other, and not just stand each other, love each other, even after all the arguments and all of that. So I think having that ability to bond with your team members, both not just the founding team, but the team as it grows, I think was one thing that was super helpful. Second, I found that because I was not the domain expert, I had the permission or the license to ask the stupid questions. right?
Yeah.
When you go in as the expert, people expect you to know everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
here, nobody expected me to know anything because I was
Yeah.
the one who was new to the space, which frankly was one of the most valuable things from my perspective, because I could then ask the very basic questions. I could question, traditional wisdom. Sometimes traditional wisdom had a lot of merit, but sometimes it did not.
Yeah.
And being able to ask that, being able to understand something from the ground up, I found to be very freeing and very valuable.
Yeah.
And the third thing I learned is it was important to be able to be the one to ask the right questions,
Yeah.
not necessarily the one to have all the right answers.
Answers. Yeah.
Because as you try to build a strategy for a company, as you try to decide which direction you want to go,
Yeah.
it comes through a series of questions, right?
Sure.
And if you ask the right questions and you're surrounded by all these super smart people, they'll get you the right answers.
Yeah.
But if you ask the wrong questions, you'll get the right answers to those wrong questions, but you'll then go down a very different path.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, I think these three attributes probably, I would say, helped me as I moved across domains.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, Nikhil. When you spoke about these three things that worked for you, like asking the right question instead necessarily having the right answer. Can you give us one example where you applied this, or one of the companies where you really you applied these principles?
Sure. I guess couple come to mind, but let me start
Yeah.
with one.
Yeah.
In the consumer video company that we created, we wanted to become the Netflix of emerging markets.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2007. The iPhone still wasn't launched.
Yeah.
So it was early times, right? Today, OTT is
Yeah.
considered a very standard thing.
Yep.
In 2007, when it was a 2G network and, the old Nokia candy bar phones,
Yeah.
the whole idea of OTT was very different. In fact,
Yeah.
I think I went to probably 30 or 40 VCs,
Yeah.
and they all said this is such a stupid idea.
Yeah.
So that was the starting point. And as we started that journey, we sort of kept pivoting to figure out the product market fit. And at one point, a few years later, we came to a place where we had to figure out what content we need to put onto our platform that would resonate with consumers.
Yeah.
Now, everybody, all companies who were like us, because by that point in time, a lot of companies had come into the market, and everyone was asking, doing these consumer surveys,
Right.
and saying, let's ask consumers what they want, which is obviously a very good
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
But the consumers told everybody the exact same thing: give me the latest Hollywood movie and give me the latest, local content movie, the Bollywood, Tollywood. And this was in Egypt, this was in Nigeria, this was in India. We were trying to go into all these markets, and I soon came to the conclusion that we are going to be a Me Too product if we also take the same input that the consumers are giving everybody.
Yeah.
And so we said, what's a different way of looking at this problem? And we decided that instead of only asking consumers what they did, let's look at what consumers actually do.
Yeah.
And the one place we decided that we would get that answer is to go look at what is the content being consumed on pirated sites. Right? Because that's, pirated sites, many of them are very popular.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, what are they popular because of?
Yeah.
And in 2014, we realized that the most consumed content on pirated sites was actually Korean dramas.
Mm.
And this was worldwide. This was not specific to, the US or South Korea. It was in places like India.
Yeah.
I remember we went to Cummins College of Engineering in Pune.
Yeah.
And all these women, when we asked them this question, hey, by the way, what is the content that you like to watch? They told us, again, Bollywood, Hollywood. Then when we said, any interest in Korean? And they all started laughing. They said, oh my God, that's our favorite, right? And so those types of insights we got once we asked the right question. Like
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
asked what content do you want to watch, it was a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
answer than, hey,
Yeah,
do you really watch this? And in any case, fast forward that story, we went and made a big bet and said, let us license all the Korean content that comes out of South Korea. There are
Yeah.
4 big studios,
Yeah.
and that changed the trajectory of our company dramatically, where today, so many years later, we are number 1 or number 2 in every Southeast Asian market
Nice.
with Netflix for content consumption and revenue. So,
Nice.
it's things, sometimes simple things like this.
Yeah.
If you look at the problem differently, you get a very different
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, yeah. Nikhil, we've often discussed this. People say, "Arey, Nikhil to kya?" I mean, Nikhil, your life is set. You have made it. What about you? You had all this, all the right things going for you. But I know, and I mean, I'm sure there have been many occasions in these last 2-3 decades of your corporate life. Can you tell us some of the most difficult moments that really shaped you?
Yeah. I could write a book just on all the failures. uh, so yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I found is people often look at entrepreneurs, especially the ones who are successful, and think that it must have been an easy path. And of course, everything in hindsight looks easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to laugh about the past. Oh my God. But at that time, it felt like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I had many such occasions where I felt like, okay, this is it. This is the end
Yeah.
of the company. And maybe if I just think about a few of those occasions, I remember in my first company, I had never worked in India. I had never worked in the US, and I had started a company along with my co-founder, who also had never started or worked anywhere in their lives.
Yeah.
So we were truly an example of 2 guys, a dog and a dream. Right? We had no other qualifications. But the one thing we did understand was our PhD thesis. So that's something that we tried to commercialize. And I remember my PhD advisor, who was even today one of my closest friends, he told me, Nikhil, I think it's better you get a job, understand what the real world is like, then start a company. But, at that time, you're both a combination of ignorant and arrogant. And I thought, how hard can it be? So we went ahead, ignored my PhD advisor's advice, and went ahead and started the company. And soon I realized I was at my limit in terms of understanding the space. So I brought on board a professional CEO. Okay? And it was great. I wanted to learn from this guy. So we brought him on board. And after a few months, I realized that this guy, he was a very successful guy. He had a few successful startups. Everyone was very excited for us that we had brought him on board. But I also realized that his value system was very different than mine. And it began to bother me. Things like, he was doing some stuff on the side versus doing it as part of our company, things that I found quite unethical. And I actually spoke to him about it. And he told me, look, you are very naive. This is not how the real world works. The way the real world works is you have to do all these things, and don't believe all the idealistic stuff you read about. And so I said, okay, maybe that's what the real world is like, but I just don't like it. And so I kept running into arguments with him. And eventually it came to a point where I had to make a decision. And the board asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to part ways with him? Because if you part ways with him, you're probably losing your best chance at success, because this guy is such a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
A successful CEO, that he will make you very successful. Yes, you might not be able to live with yourself in terms of you can't follow your values, but you'll be very successful. Or you go ahead, we can part ways with him. But if you part ways with him, out goes your credibility in the industry. They are not going to try and understand value system and all. They're going to say, hold on, this guy left, means something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to live with yourself, but chances are that's the end of your company.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard decision. I mean, I can always say the answer was easy. The answer at that time was not easy, because I knew if I let go, if I parted ways with him, we probably would go down, and all these people I'd hired would be out of a job.
Yeah.
And so I hemmed
Yeah.
and I hawed and I spoke to my co-founder, and at the end I said, you know what, let's go with our instinct and let's part ways. So we parted ways with him. And I remember for the next 3 months, everyone I met would tell me, why do you do that? Why don't you just, figure out how to work with him?
Yeah.
But in any case, about a year later, we ended up actually having one of the most successful exits. And this guy who we parted ways with had told me on his way out, you're going to fail dramatically, and the company I'm doing is going to be $1 billion company. And that did not end up happening for him. And so, in hindsight, great story, right? I mean, it sounds so cool, but at that time it was really, really hard. And I can give you 10 other examples like this,
Yeah.
but very often the journeys are not all that easy, and they're full of ups and downs, and you navigate them. Some you win and some you lose.
Yeah. Nikhil, let me remind you of one of the profound advice you have given us. And that is something, we keep passing on to a lot of our team members and people that we meet, or entrepreneurs who just get started. Many, many years ago, Nikhil told us one thing, which we hold very dear to our hearts. He had said, we were in deep, there was this big problem, something was happening, and let me quote two instances. One quite personal, one that something was about the company. So Nikhil said it was late evening, we were meeting him in Baner, and he said, listen, Mohit and Suruchi, there is never an end of the world. You will feel deep shit today, but you will sleep tonight, and tomorrow morning you will wake up with fresh energy to fight this. So there is never an end of the world. There will be moments you will feel is gone, the company is gone, my career is gone, life is over. Nothing is like that. There is always a way out. The second instance, when Jombe was, we were pivoting to a new model. We had runway of 6 months left to turn around the company. And that time, Suruchi was pregnant, and she was advised bed rest. And Suruchi was building the new product. We went to Nikhil, and we said, Nikhil, this is deep problem. So Nikhil came to see Suruchi at home here. He said, what is the problem? Your living room is your workspace. Your dining table is your conference table, and here is the projector. Doctor has told her not to move, right? Doctor has not told her not to work. Give her the iPad and let's keep the company rolling. And from there, we launched the product. Jombe did what it did. But those are two instances, examples of difficult moments that either Nikhil has advised us or has helped us navigate through those. So, we already spoken of some of your leadership qualities, Nikhil, but if there one that you want to highlight that was built over time for you?
I would say the thing that I learned the most was to trust my gut instinct.
Yeah.
If you think about for all the people on the call, you've probably got a lot of advice from a lot of people, and a lot of it is very well intentioned. Many people want to give you advice because they care about you. But I also realize that you live your life, you live the company 24/7. You're thinking about it all the time. And, we talk about, I have a good gut instinct, but what is gut instinct? It really is you're calibrating your judgment with every incident. So I learned it's good to take advice from a lot of people. But at the end of the day, you have to decide what it is that you want to go with. Where there is data, of course, use the data. But at least in a startup journey, I found that very often you have to make critical decisions with incomplete data, which means there is a leap of faith you have to take. And I guess this is not just true in a startup, right? This is true in our personal lives as well.
Yeah.
Very often you're making decisions where you don't have all the data and like, what should I do? And of course, like I said, 20 people will give you advice, but at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. You're not going to always be right, but I can almost guarantee you that if you trust your gut instinct, you'll be right more often than just blindly taking somebody else's advice because you are living it every day. So to me, that's probably the thing that I had to get most comfortable with. And the other thing I would also say was pretty critical was getting comfortable with failure. You know, I think when I was growing up, I felt like I should never make a mistake, right? Making mistakes is bad. It means you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, having gone into all these different domains, I realized I had to get really, really comfortable with failure, because I had to fail a lot. I had to say, I don't know, so many times. But, you know, that's actually one of the biggest things you can do for yourself, is get comfortable with it. It'll give you the license to try new things, different things. And that, I think those two things probably have helped me the most.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Phil, for sharing that. You know, in a startup journey or any growth journey, that even in large companies, recruiting leaders is crucial. What do you look for them?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to recruiting, I have four things that I always look for. One is, what is their motivation in joining the startup? Because like I said, the startup life is a hard life. There are more bad news days than good news days, right? And so if it's the romantic notion, oh, I want to be part of a startup, let's go into a garage and, you know, we'll become $1 billion company, you're going to lose enthusiasm pretty quickly, because it's nothing like that. And so if their motivation to join a startup is because they believe in the mission, they believe in the vision, they are comfortable with, you know, it not going great, I think that is critical. So there are questions I ask that helps me get some insight into that. Second is, you know, in a startup, you have to deal with a lot of different people across different domains, and you have to figure out how to deal with different people, and that requires a certain level of EQ. You know, very often we spend so much time judging people's IQ, we just don't spend enough time judging people's EQ. And I think the ability to get things done requires a certain EQ. It's not about saying, hey, do this. You have to sell people and bring them along rather than just tell people what to do. Third is, I always check people's ability to have a hypothesis driven thinking. Like when they come up with a logic for something, do they say, I want to implement this because of these facts? And so if there's a hypothesis driven thinking, and then use data to, you know, prove or disprove the hypothesis. It's okay for the hypothesis to be wrong, but it can't be like randomness in how you decide what to go do. But at the same time, balance that with, it can't be this paralysis by analysis. There are people I know who are really smart. They're so smart that they can find all the things that can go wrong with the problem. Those people I find often get into this paralysis by analysis. They can't make a decision because there is never enough logic to make any decision, because every decision will have some downsides. And the last piece I look at is, you know, how persevering are they, right? Can they deal with failure? And I always ask them for interesting examples of where they dealt with you know, things that took a long time, how they had to persevere through it, and how did they last, or did they get turned off? And to me, these four things give me a lot of insight into whether the person is a right fit or not.
You know, there's an open secret almost now. Nikhil's one formula of hiring leaders also will give two options: high stock, low comp, low stock and high comp. And if somebody takes higher salary, lower stock options, high probability Nikhil is not going to hire that person.
No, that's true, right? Because I think there are enough companies who can pay much more in comp. So if comp is the number one, salary is the number one objective, there will be companies better than us.
Sure. So let's switch gears. Nikhil, you're working in a very interesting space now, especially in the healthcare diagnostic space. Can you explain what you do currently to the mostly non-medical audience, bunch of engineers who are there on the call right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the group, so I will keep it simple because that's my level of understanding as well. So, you know, as part of GenePath Diagnostics, which I run right now, by the way, the founder of the company was my classmate from 3rd standard from Pune, from Loyola. So there is another example of build long-term bonds with people that I work with. But we do two things in the company. One is diagnostics, which is testing for various diseases or disorders. So we create test kits that we sell to labs around the world. And these labs buy these test kits to either test for cancer, for infectious diseases, for genetic disorders like thalassemia and all of that. And so our goal at this company is to make these test kits so affordable and yet high quality. Now, this is so easy to say, right? Everybody says this, but we actually put this to test because we became one of the only companies that is able to sell our test kits both to the US labs where they care about high quality and to labs in India and Africa where they care about low price. And it's the same thing we sell everywhere. And I think one example that illustrates this perfectly is in the country of Turkey. There are, just like every other part of the world, there are babies born, and some of them have this are born with a genetic disorder. And there's a genetic disorder called spinal muscular atrophy, SMA, that afflicts babies all over the world. But in Turkey, the government pays for that treatment for any baby that's born with that disorder. But you have to find out if that baby is born, and you have to born with it, and then give it within the first couple of weeks, which means every child needs to be tested as soon as they're born. So 1.3 million babies had to be tested for this specific disorder. And the cost of the test that is created by US pharmaceutical diagnostic companies is about $100 per child.
Wow.
Now that's a lot of money for a country to pay, right?
Yep.
We came up with a test that they validated. They said, yeah, this works as well as any of the US test kits, and we sold it to the government for $1.49.
Wow.
That is the type of disruptive thinking we want now. Obviously, profits are going to be very, very tiny, if at all, in such a model. But our view is, let's be clear about our mission and vision first, why we are doing it. And once we get that right, we will figure out the commercial model, the profitability. But first, let us create such great value by disrupting the market so much that certain people will root for your success, and certain might not. But a lot of, and so that's sort of one aspect of what we do.
Sure.
And the other aspect of what we do is preventive health, which is before you even get sick, what can you do to reduce the chances? And today, the number of wearable sensors that exist in the market has gone up dramatically. Most of us, wear one or the other. And so we come up with a program where we take data from various sensors and figure out how we can tweak your food habits, your exercise habits, your sleep habits, your stress levels, so that you can reduce your chances of stuff like heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, because most of these diseases, yes, there's a genetic component, but there's a very strong lifestyle component. That's why they're called lifestyle diseases. And as you know, India is the diabetes and heart disease capital of the world. And so if we can all just do a few things right before we get sick, we'll do ourselves a huge favor. So those are the two aspects of what the company does.
Yeah. So interesting. So Nikhil, I went through a program with Gene Clinics on using the continuous glucose monitor, and I could bring back, I was almost pre-diabetic, as you know, and through the sensors and the data that came and then personalizing my thing, I brought my HbA1c back to 5.3 to a much safer level where I was almost diabetic. From there, I brought it back without really compromising on what I eat. I mean, of course, what I eat, but when I eat, what I eat. So can you give the audience some tips or some examples of how one can have a healthier lifestyle by knowing a little more about ourselves versus going with generic advice?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. So, I've realized that a lot of people have gone through these intense diets and they follow them for a week, 5 weeks, 2-3 months, and then it's too difficult to follow. And so the conclusion was, can we come up with a system that allows us to eat pretty close to what we eat today, but make small tweaks to it. And if those tweaks are scientifically based, and they can become sustainable, right? So as an example, 10 years back, I was diagnosed with heart disease, and I didn't expect to be, because I thought I lived a very healthy lifestyle, but I realized that some of the most strange things were causing issues, which I only learned in hindsight. For example, in my case, uh, drinking fresh squeezed orange juice, and this is true for everyone, drinking fresh squeezed orange juice is bad. I never believed that in the beginning, right? I used to always be told, don't drink Coke, don't drink Pepsi, drink fresh fruit juices.
Yeah.
But today, if you go talk to a cardiologist or a clinical dietitian, they will tell you, don't ever drink juices. That's poison. That's concentrated sugar. Instead, eat 3 oranges.
Yeah.
So of course, that got me thinking, what else was I doing for myself that I thought was good, but actually was bad? And that led me on this journey. And once I figured out over 8 years of collecting data on myself, and then we made this into a program, now we have data on thousands of people who have gone through this program. And here are a few simple rules. If you don't want to go through anything sophisticated, here are a few simple rules, right? Eat fruits, eat fruits, don't drink them, right? Like have the fruit version, don't have the juice version. Eat fiber, right? Salads, veggies, before you have your, carbs. So, typically we very often eat a lot of bread and all. We start with that. Eating bread and all is okay because our body needs carbs, right? Otherwise, our body won't survive. But most of us eat too many carbs. But one way you can deal with that is if you first ate the fiber, the veggies, then some protein and fats, and then the carbs and sugar. Okay, you will dramatically improve your, insulin resistance, which is a root cause of a lot of evil. Cook with the right oils. There are certain oils, avocado, olive, a few other oils like that are good. Some others are just full of saturated fat, trans fat. Or cook with the right oils. And whenever you are eating carbs, try and eat the more complex carbs, right? The grains rather than just simple white flour and wheat, and eat healthy fats. I mean, there's a lot more. In fact, we have a Instagram link called Glucose Gyan or Gene Clinics. Check it out. We put a lot of very interesting tips on what one can do to live a healthy life. But the bottom line is, living healthy doesn't have to be painful, right? It can be actually a fun experience. And so that has become my lifelong passion now.
So let's switch gears, and Sudhya, if you're still around, since it's about memories of College of Engineering Pune. But before we switch gears, Sudhya, I wanted to ask you one thing. Nikhil, and by virtue of what he said, with a very solid support from you, built 4 companies whose valuation was close to $1 billion or more overall. What, according to you, is the secret of his, or you both, your success together?
Hi, Mohit, and hi. Good morning from California, everybody. It's a bit of a surprise that you brought me on. So I apologize for a little bit of being startled with Nikhil's very generous call out to me in his first 2 milestones. But I think what I would like to add to that is that Nikhil has been very resilient, and what he talks about learning how to fail has been actually a lesson that not just Nikhil, but I have had to also learn with him together. We met when we were 14. So, of course, we go back a long way. We pretty much grew up together. Our children often ask us, what is the secret to you guys learning to agree, disagree, and then, just move on even when we disagree, kind of a thing. But it's the resilience to actually power through the times when things are not working out. Yeah. And I think that is a stubbornness that Nikhil has, a mental way of being, which is very contagious. So all of you who have hung out with him and have had a long association might agree with me. My parents are also on the call, and they've actually seen Nikhil from when we were 14 and 15. And, it wasn't the time where we dated like how children date today. We were very good friends first, and we both knew we were the oldest born in each of our respective families, and we knew that we had to concentrate on our studies and just stuff like that made us focus on all the right values that our family brought to us. And then Nikhil, I think in specific for me, brought that resilience, the resilience which is required when things are not working. When things are working and everything's fine, it's relatively easy to roll through it. But when you have to pick up what's not working and saying that, okay, like you said, Mohit, that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
We are still going to put one foot in front of the other. I think for me, that has been something I've witnessed.
Nice. Thank you, Sudhnya, and good to hear from you. At this moment, I want to unmute. I see one of Nikhil's friend. Maybe there are others of his classmates as well. Why don't we? I think Srikanth, the younger, I know Nikhil's close friend as well. Anything you want to talk about Nikhil or memory that you want to share, or some fun stuff that he did that Sudhnya doesn't know?
Yeah, there's hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I came here to heckle Nikhil. So Nikhil, I'm going to put the tomatoes away, but it's a pleasure to be here. So look, there are lots that Sudhnya doesn't know, and I think Nikhil would prefer that she doesn't. But that aside, look, I think the resilience is something I can relate to quite a bit. But the other thing I will say about Nikhil is, I have a few close friends, and there are some friends you stay in touch with quite a bit. But I know that even if we don't talk for months, we just pick up where we left off. And frankly, that's with both Sudhnya and Nikhil. Thank you both. And he's got my back. He's got my back when I need it. And hopefully I can reciprocate. But that is one big thing. And we've all known each other since 1989. Tells you how old we all are. But, having the other person's back, irrespective of different context, because of a shared value system, is very, very important.
Sure. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Anybody
Thank you,
else
Srikanth.
from Nikhil's batch who wants to unmute and talk about it?
Let me. I'm gonna.
Sorry.
Srikanth, you're on mute.
Yeah. So sorry for jumping in. What I'm going to tell you the story. So, Nikhil and I, we're not just classmates. We spent 1 full year on the telco shop floor together as sandwich trainees. So for 1 year, we hated each other. We fought. We did a project together, and we were stuck with each other so much so that Sudhnya would complain that I probably spend more time with him, than she did. And remember, this was before Section 377 was repealed in India, so it's a different time and place. But but that aside. We had this code word. We both had plans. I wanted to go to B school. Nikhil wanted to go to UC Berkeley. And we had this code word, which I shall not name on this call, that if either of us gets what we want, we will scream this out to the other person in was it the common room, Nikhil? I forget. And both our admissions came about the same time. Nikhil went to Berkeley, I went to IIM Lucknow, and we were screaming this word at each other with about 25 people around us thinking, what the heck has happened to you guys? Why are you swearing in public so obviously? But these are things friendships are made of. I still remember that even today.
This is a revelation. I haven't heard Nikhil swear in front of us all these.
Nikhil, you may want to comment, but yeah, that was a fun day.
Awesome. So,
that was the only time I ever abused Mohit.
yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, Nikhil, we have 5 minutes left and a bunch of rapid fire questions now. Any favorite memory of College of Engineering, Pune?
He lives with one.
Bunking college.
Bunking, yeah. What message would you give for young COEP students who are graduating now?
It's okay for you to say, I don't know, right? Try different things, do different things. Don't be afraid of failure. And if you have that general attitude, you'll find the most amazing things will happen to you.
Yeah, nice. One decision you wish you didn't make?
no, you know what? I feel like every decision helped me, even if it ended up being
Yeah.
wrong. It taught me something.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
really.
Sure. One thing you would change about yourself.
Two things I would change. One, I wish I was more patient.
Yeah.
I'm relatively impatient. And second, I wish I had Tom Cruise's look and Jim Carrey's sense of humor rather than the other way around. Which
Oh,
I
you want us to tell you have both.
I have the other way. I have Jim Carrey's looks and Tom Cruise's sense of humor.
We've heard this, so I will spare you on this. But if you want to talk about your superpower, Sudhya already told about this stubborn.
No, I'll tell you what my superpower is. I actually believe my superpower is I require only 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
Right.
oh, that's
That
true.
gives me so many
Oh
extra
yeah,
hours.
man.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. This is, I don't know what Sudhya thinks about it. Sudhya, we never got a chance to speak about this trait of Nikhil, but surprisingly, this man needs 3 to 4 hours of sleep and just gets up. How have you dealt with this over the years?
Yeah, it is a little frustrating. And fortunately, none of our children got those genes. So they all need a regular 8-hour sleep. So I finally had enough critical momentum in the house to make sure that Nikhil isolates himself from 3 o'clock in the morning down in the basement so that the rest of us can continue to have our sleep. But I would say that that was my single biggest adjustment to Nikhil when we got married, because we had known each other for 8 years before marriage, but I never had to deal with the sleep issue. And when he gets up, he's very fresh and very chatty, and he really wants to talk about life and really amazing topics at like 3:30 in the morning where my brain doesn't function.
Yeah. Nice. So I see Sudhya's mother on the call. Auntie, what is your favorite thing about Nikhil? I'm asking her to unmute if she can.
I find I have one of he's more like a son to me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate whatever he does. I
Nice.
just appreciate.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So, Nikhil, what's the most sensible thing you have heard someone say? So you went on mute.
Sorry, I've heard a lot of very sensible things people have said to me over the years.
Yeah.
They, I've been mentored by a lot of different people. And I think the one person who spoke to me about this was, they told me, if you are willing to be inspired, you can get inspiration from a lot of different people. So don't limit yourself to, oh, I only want to talk to a successful entrepreneur, or I only want to talk to a world famous scientist. You can get wisdom from the most unexpected of places. And so just be open to talking to people, ask people for advice, and you'll be amazed what type of advice you get from the most interesting and unexpected places.
Yeah. Final question, Nikhil, before I open up for a few minutes, if people have any questions for you. But who do you look up to for inspiration or mentorship? Who's your mentor?
I've had, like I said, a lot of mentors. I just, everybody has taught me different aspects of what I have taken away. And so, there are some ones that I've taken a lot more from. My PhD advisor, Costas Panos, my first company, one of my co-workers, a guy called Alan Nolet, some of my friends, my father-in-law, I think, who's also on the call. I find him to be a very wise man. My dad, my sister, I mean, she gives me some of the most interesting advice, which I can never imagine, but she always finds some interesting way to say things that I could not have imagined. So I think there's a lot of people. And then, of course, my wife, but then sometimes I'm not sure whether it's advice that I am willingly taking or unwillingly taking, but I always take.
Nikhil, one more thing you had, one of the many profound advices you gave me before I was getting married was, you are the person who will always have to say sorry, right or wrong. You better say that soon so that you move on in life. So on that note, Akshay, we can just open up. If in case anybody has a question, comment for Nikhil, we have few minutes that we will keep this line open before we call it a day. But really appreciate all of you joining in. Just unmute yourself, Akshay. If you can allow people to unmute themselves, and if somebody wants to ask or somebody raised hand, Anand Kulkarni, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nikhil. It was really wonderful to hear you and to know about your journey. My question to you is, what is the next big thing you're working on now?
Anand, I'm on this GenePath, on this medical diagnostics journey. And I got onto that journey not because I had any background, but because both my parents were diagnosed with cancer. And I could not do much to be of help to my mom. I was a lot more help to my dad because I got into this space. And so this has become my mission, my journey. And I don't know whether it will be big or not, but at least I'll feel like I'm doing something to try and impact an area that has impacted me personally. So this hopefully will be my next big thing for a long time.
That's great. That's great. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. I see Anup Savrai, the CTO of Cummins on whose board Nikhil serves as well.
Hi, Nikhil.
Hi, Anup.
Of course, I've learned a lot of things from you, especially related to people management, some of the tricks. But I just learned a new secret about you, your secret soccer affairs in Pune.
Yes, that is one of my favorite things to do. Every time I come to Pune, I make sure I go play soccer 2-3 times a week.
So enjoyed your talk, Nikhil. Great.
Thank you, Anu.
Okay, awesome. Anand already spoke. Great, Nikhil. Any final comments?
No, I mean, I'm just proud to be a COEP, and I'll tell you one last parting thing. I was at a COEP event once, and someone said, we need to be like the IITians. I said, no, the IITians need to be like us. Right? Why are we setting our bar low? So, after that, it's always been, you have to believe in, that we are part of a pretty special tradition. And Mohit and Suruchi, you guys started this whole alumni thing a long time back in 2004. That story you were talking about, that was the kickoff in some sense of creating this alumni thing. And what you guys have done has been pretty amazing for all of us to benefit from. So thank you.
No, thank you. We're going to, as said, we've taken care of the underprivileged COEP students. So for the next 10 years, no COEP student will have to worry about paying tuition fees in case they can't afford to. But now our focus is how do we bring world-class faculty on topics that currently the expertise doesn't exist at COEP. So big focus is 20 alumni chairs funded by 20 faculty, and we will come to you, Nikhil, soon on that, and several other alums who will bank on as we further help the COEP students and all the alums as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Sudhya, good to see you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Nikhil.
And
It was
let us know
really
when the
wonderful talk.
screenings are
Thank
here in India.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
good night.
everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Thank you.
Bye.